I think it might have actually worked. I think we might be live, and yes, we are in fact live. We're doing it.
Okay, because I'm still seeing waiting on my end, so let me just refresh.
Do with that refresh.
Um,
We're definitely live.
yeah, yep, we're live. Guys, I'm gonna be honest to you. I'm like, unlike the first three times we tried to do this, I really am shot this time because we waited so long to get Edge's internet back, and I got kind of in a more joking mood with him. So, you know what? I was ready to have a conversation with him about Nick Fuentes. Just to recap, I just said that the left needs to do things beyond electoral politics. That's it. Ashton made a comment about Nick Fuentes where, like, because he
Yeah.
knows I've been
So
worried about him.
this all
Yeah.
got cut
Go
out,
ahead.
I think. I think my entire commentary on Fuentes got cut out. So I'll just recap it real quick. The general idea being we are 3 years away from the 2028 election. And if you go back to the 2016 election that Donald Trump won, and you go 3 years back prior to that, 2013, the vast majority of people in this country knew who the fuck Donald Trump was. He had name recognition, he had celebrity, he had clout. And I don't think that you can say anywhere remotely close to the same thing about Nick Fuentes because and when I say because, I'm saying because I want to like justify why I'm even bringing this up. Um, Even if he had better actual political skills and if he was able to maintain relationships and play the game, which he clearly doesn't, you brought that up. I just think he just doesn't have the name recognition. And also, you say, and you even said this earlier on in this very recording, that MAGA doesn't really have an ideology. It's just a cult of personality surrounding Trump, who, again, was a big time, major, actual public figure and celebrity before he even attempted to make a run in politics. And Fuentes just doesn't have that clout.
Yeah. And my only retort, I think I had more at the time, but I've had time to really think this through. So I'm basically going to concede 98% of the floor to you, right? The 2% that I'm going to retain that is still deeply concerning in the present moment is that I do think the whole like rightism of the internet variety, so like I guess internet rightism if you prefer, and what Fuentes calls the Groyper movement and stuff, they do have a bit of a hold on the GOP in a way because people that have tried to engage him, he's had them ratioed on social media, and not to mention they're out of touch fucking neocons. Like I know Ted Cruz has tried to make a run at Fuentes. I think somebody else, who I'm forgetting, tried to make a run at Fuentes. So it's not even so much Fuentes as a person. I worry though that like the online politics that have been cultivated on the right, I think we're starting to see it a little bit here in this regime, and I think we may see it in successive regimes, depending on how things go. I mean, for all we know, revolution could happen tomorrow. I highly fucking doubt it. But history, who can fucking say, right? I just feel like in successive right-wing regimes, because I don't think this is the last one, people never fucking learn. I think historical memory is way too short. I do think that they would be more internet based in terms of like the politics they're importing into federal institutions. And that concerns me because it's not so much as Fuentes the person as much as he is emblematic of kind of just an online trend in right word politics that is incredibly, again, xenophobic, as we're seeing now, racist to everybody, including Jews, and then encapsulated Israel, which is why the old guard of the GOP is even against Fuentes because he's anti Israel. And yeah, we just need to accept that even if it's not Fuentes specifically, I think the metamorphosis of the GOP just into the American Nazi Party is fully complete at this point. And if not fully complete, it really doesn't have much more to go. I can't imagine how
You
much further
know,
you'd have to go.
I don't even know if I agree with that. Because again, I think it's this cult of personality, and it's all about Trump, Trump, Trump. But like, what percentage of members of Congress do you think would have gone along with somebody like Pete Hegseth as the what is he, the Attorney General? No,
Secretary of Defense.
Secretary of Defense. Yeah, Pam Bondi's the Attorney General, I believe. But no,
Yes, yes,
do you
yes.
really think that the members of Congress would have just gone along with someone like that being the Secretary of Defense if it wasn't for just simply the fact that Trump was the one who nominated him and he is their fucking leader?
Yeah, I mean, I've also heard from those representatives, which is could also tie back to Trump to your point. So I don't consider this a rebuke of your point, just something for further clarification, that the MAGA base has been doing like a lot of death threats and stuff, which has really coerced these politicians. Which, if I'm being fully mask off here, this is why I say though the right wing does better politics than the left wing, and that's
Yeah.
why true radical left wing movements can't flourish in the U.S. Right, and that's why every leader like Fred Hampton, Malcolm X, I mean, you name them, CIA has either worked to thoroughly discredit them in the public, poison the well, or just straight up assassinate them and then repackage them to a more liberal, palatable message. Right, we've seen it throughout history all the fucking time, because radical left-wing movements would do the same, albeit in a different tenor. I know when the Black Panthers were taking off, gun ownership for blacks skyrocketed. That was the only time in this country's history you've seen any kind of gun regulation. Why? Because blacks obviously, and still are today, are an oppressed demographic in this country and a target of political and sociological violence. So when they defend themselves right against a white supremacist order, that same white supremacist order is going to be like, okay, well, maybe regulate guns just this once. And that's what makes the right-wing politics so dangerous, is it can do the stuff the left can't, because all the institutions and apparatuses are coordinated against that very reality. But they do it for ends that go beyond the bounds even of like neoliberal shithole stage capitalism, right? Like, let's
Yeah.
do Holocaust 2.0, let's do all this bullshit. And it's crazy though, because you'll still see that sane washed by the media and everything else. I mean, look how much Zoran got buried, and he's nowhere near close to a communist, right? But then you look at what Trump's doing and you see how everybody kind of twists and contorts like they're playing fucking Twister, to be like, well, are we sure that this isn't, illegal? And maybe there are benefits to invading Greenland. Like, it's insanity. It's like, really,
Do
to
you really
me,
see that from anyone that isn't explicitly a right wing sort of propaganda arm
I,
of the
I,
government, though?
I do have to push back against you a little bit there, because I not necessarily about the specific instances I've mentioned, but I know the New York Times and stuff has tried to massage some of the Trump
Okay, yeah,
maneuvers and
no,
everything like
that's
with the
fair. I
publication of
also
it.
do think that there's just a problem of every major media outlet being owned by billionaires at this point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, that we're in 100%. I mean, that's just fact. That's just indisputable fact. I mean, you look at resource allocation, and I'm not just talking like resources like food and water. I am talking about like our media, our public institutions. Like, everything is co-opted by money. Everything is co-opted by the wealthy.
Yeah,
I already talked about earlier Barry Weiss and being the president of CBS, and that's heralded by the Ellison family, which are rabid Zionists. Now they're looking to get Warner Brothers, and they're fighting with Netflix, which could also augment its power. It is bad. Again, it is just really bad. So really, I'm glad that you kind of push back on Fuentes, because I think the smarter comment isn't focusing so much on Fuentes as an individual, but more what he's emblematic of ideologically. Because here's the one thing that does scare me about Fuentes, even as an idea, right, is that I do think he's more ideologically committed than a Trump, by far. I think Trump is absolutely narcissist and everything else. I think Fuentes really believes the shit that he says.
yeah.
The problem is he has no fucking political tact.
Well,
So,
I also
like,
think the problem is
yeah,
that the shit that he believes is something that most of the country wouldn't be able to get behind.
exactly. Especially because, and this is another thing too, it's going to turn on them too. Like, it really, if there's anything to be grateful for, provided we fucking survive it, which is a big fucking if given everything we have to overcome, big thing to be grateful for the Trump regime is, I think it is really poisoned. I would hope for, ever, ideally, but I'm not going to be that idealistic. But I do think it's poisoned right wing politics for a lot of people. Because I think even the people that voted for it that are like, wait, why is my wife getting deported? I was a Hispanic that voted for Trump.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of answered your own fucking question. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
Like,
I
yeah,
mean, that's the thing, though, is that I think in 2016, Trump won because people voted for him. And then 2020, Biden won because they were voting against Trump. But 2024, Trump didn't win because he had enthusiasm behind him. He won because people were voting for change. People were voting for something other than Biden. It was more of an anti-Biden vote than a pro-Trump vote. Unlike 2016, where he won off of the back of a very like fake populist campaign. 2024, there was nothing really populist about his campaign, but people also weren't paying attention. And I mean, we know that for a fact because the most Googled term after the election day was "What are tariffs?" Like people don't have any. People were just not paying attention to the wind up to the election last year, but they knew that things were bad and they knew that they needed things to change. So they voted for the guy that wasn't already in power.
yeah. And dude, here's the thing about that. I'm glad you mentioned the most recent election, because what's even more startling to me is the people that just opted not to vote. right? Like, I
Well,
think
and
we're
not only
seeing
that
it.
too,
Yeah.
but we also know that there was election tampering for sure, like
I mean, for sure. Yeah.
significant amount.
For sure, a significant amount. I don't want to play too much into that because I feel like enough people have already kind of commented on that and nothing was really done about that. And we're in this situation now. Why I even mentioned the people that didn't vote is I really do think, not at the rate that I would like, mind you, but I do think you're getting an increasing number of people that are seeing the duopolistic structure of the country and really the primary financial interests of both parties. And I really do think, and maybe this is overly optimistic of me, I can cop to that charge easily, but I do think there is a growing number of people that are just starving for something new. And like you
Yeah,
said, that was part of why this election went the way it did. And they bet on fucking Trump, which is just insane to me because the campaign itself was so bad. Like just Arnold Palmer's cock and filleting a microphone and everything else.
I think
But
that the people on the
yeah,
left are just so constantly looking for excuses. Not really. Excuses is the wrong word. People on the left, though, are so hyper fixated on pointing out every insane thing that Trump says, and I think most sort of average people in this country just kind of see him as a kooky grandpa type.
yeah,
Like, oh, there goes grandpa talking about his old friend's dick again. Like,
yeah,
I don't think that people see Trump talking about Arnold Palmer's dick as
yeah,
like this like deal breaking, oh my god, I can't believe that he would ever talk about that, I can't vote for this. After a decade of grab her by the pussy, people have been desensitized to that. People don't give a shit anymore. And the fact that left leaning media and even just liberal media in general harps so much on the actual words that come out of his mouth is exactly why he keeps winning. Because the shit that
yeah,
comes out of his mouth doesn't fucking matter anymore. What matters, in the election at least, was that he was the change candidate. He was running against the established government at the time, which was the Biden Harris regime. And Harris didn't do enough to really separate herself from Biden. She actively said several times that there wasn't anything that she would have changed about the way he was running things. And now, granted, she almost had to do that because she was his fucking vice president. But that's, you even brought up earlier about how you wanted to have an open caucus. Is that what it was?
an open convention
An
is
open
what it's called, an open
convention?
convention.
Like, yeah, like you, I, I, it's funny because we can talk about this. You remember Alan Richtman, the keys to the White House, the 13 keys to the White House, or not Richtman,
Yeah,
Alan Lichtman.
yeah, yeah,
Technically, if you go by what he said, he actually got his first prediction wrong in like 40 plus years last year with the prediction of who was going to win the election. But I don't think the keys were what was wrong. I think he just was wrong about which keys to be blue or red because I don't think that I'm pretty sure that he didn't concede that Israel Gaza was a truly devastating loss for the Biden administration in terms of foreign affairs. And I think that he also didn't see the protesting about that as quote unquote national unrest, which I think he should have. And if he would have just seen that and opened his eyes to those facts, he would have predicted Trump to win
yeah.
because he
Um,
only had Kamala up 8-5. But if you flip two of those keys the other way, Trump's up 7-6. And the reason that I'm bringing all of this up in the first place, I told that story to get to this, is because I
yes.
really do think that an actual president, like the presidential elections every 4 years, are determined so much less by who the specific candidate is and so much more how things are going in the country. Like you look at the 2012 election, I don't think it fucking mattered who the Republicans ran out there to run against Obama. People were happy with the way that things were going in 2012. People weren't looking for a huge upheaval. People were happy with the way that things were going. And so there was no reason for anyone to vote out the incumbent. But then you get to 2020 and we've got COVID going on, even though that wasn't Trump's fault. Now, granted, the handling of it being so bad was because he did something that disassembled basically the pandemic response team prior to it. But COVID happening wasn't Trump's fault. But he basically lost that election because of COVID, because of the repercussions of COVID, and he even probably handled it about as well as any Democratic president would have, given the fact that he did give out the stimulus checks and shit. That's crazy to think about. The Trump regime in 2020 gave people, what was it, $2,000 checks?
Yeah, because wasn't it 1,200 and then $800 check later, I thought? Or
No, it
was it
was
just 2001
2000 the
check?
first time, and then in January, while he was still in office, they gave out $1,200 checks, and then Biden took over and gave out $600 checks.
Yeah, that okay, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah.
But like the point though is Trump lost the 2020 election not because 2017 through 2019 were disasters, but because of COVID, because of the pandemic. Like my main point that I'm trying to get to here is that presidential elections specifically are not won and lost on the campaign trail. They're won and lost in the fucking government. Whoever's running the government at the time can win or lose the election for the upcoming race for whoever is running for their party, whether it's an incumbent or not, by just fucking governing. If you govern well, if you avoid disasters, if you avoid horrible decisions, if you avoid making horrible mistakes like Biden did with Palestine, like Trump did with COVID, you can get reelected or you can get somebody from your own party reelected pretty easily. But even right now, Trump with the fucking tariffs is a campaign negator. It doesn't matter. You could literally have Mark fucking Cuban go out there and run an S tier campaign in 2028 for the Republican Party, and Gavin fucking Newsom go out there and stink it up and be a smarmy jackass Bill Maher motherfucker, and it wouldn't matter. He'd win anyway because the country's a fucking disaster under the Republicans right now.
Yeah. I think by your logic, that's one reason why we could say because it's one thing democratic socialists especially like to point to that FDR won 4 fucking terms because he kept serving the material interest. Like governance was
Exactly.
used to serve the
Exactly.
material interest of the people.
Yeah, because when he
Yeah.
took over, you had the Great Depression,
Yeah.
and
And
he
then
helped
yeah.
dig America. Right, first of all, you know, World War II was a big deal, but he helped dig America out of the Great Depression. Like that's how you earn loyalty for life from the people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. Right? Like, obviously, my brand of politics goes even beyond democratic socialism, but that needs to be the bare minimum to fucking start, okay? At least if we're talking purely domestic. You know me, one thing that I really care about personally is I really emphasize a lot of foreign relations and foreign politics. I'm very much on a anti-colonial kick as of late. I don't really think the world situation is going to improve until we change our relationship as a country with the global south, but that is a totally separate conversation right now. Like the one most immediately is the fascism that's happening domestically.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like I do agree with you, and I don't want to stay on this topic too long. I do want to get to pop culture mainly because we've been stable for now, but I don't know if your internet will go out again. But I just it is about material conditions. It doesn't really matter what he says. People are looking at grocery prices and they have to take loans out. What matters is if there is an agreement about subsidies or whatever, those ACA subsidies are going to expire and then premiums are going to fucking skyrocket unbelievably. What matters is that nobody can own a home. Like things are just bad on a material basis. And that's the thing. I also think just looking at things as holistically as possible, you have to look at, racist systems and stuff like that in the sense of it amazes me how poor white people can still subsist on what is called by some scholars the psychological wage of whiteness. Like, I'm suffering, but the brown person's suffering worse than me, so I'm good. And like, I have to wonder when that wage is going to exhaust itself, right? Because just plain old material conditions are so fucking bad. Like, I don't really
Well,
see
that's
now.
kind of
Maybe it
something
can't.
that I'm concerned about is that
Yeah.
Trump handed off a garbage fire of an economy to Biden, and Biden was just barely starting to get it looking more reasonably decent by the very, very end of his um, 4 years in office. Like
Yes.
2020, like the second half of 2024, the economy was just starting to look better. And even then, it was more like an on paper thing where like GDP is up, unemployment is down, and yet people are still struggling to fucking exist. Um, my concern is that Trump is going through all this shit now. He's really just a disaster economically. I mean, you mentioned his approval rate on the economy is in the 30s. Like, what was it, like 34%, something like that? Number
I
one,
heard 31%.
yeah,
I heard 31.
31%.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: Trump probably isn't going to make it to the 2028 election, which means that Vance is. And Vance doesn't even have to fucking do anything. All he has to do is exist in a world where he can ride off of the coattails of the Joe Biden economy. Because we've discussed this before. Presidential and governmental decisions don't really get felt by the common populace right away. It takes a few years. And
Yeah.
come 2027, 2028, maybe the economy is less of a disaster. Maybe people aren't hurting so bad. Maybe things happen. Maybe a Democratic Congress that gets voted in 2026 makes some decisions that help people. And then 2028's election rolls around, and President Vance, at the time, runs for reelection, and things aren't looking so bad anymore, and people just kind of want to keep things how they are, and he fucking wins.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how do I want to put this? Because again, honestly, you know what? I don't even know if there's any more really to say. Because I
I
mean,
think
again, you're
my
making
main
salient
point
points.
is that we can't rely on electoral politics to save us or to bail us out, because we don't even know with any level of certainty that the conditions of the country as they are right now are going to be quote unquote bad enough still by 2028 to really mobilize people to vote against whoever the sitting Republican president is at the time.
Yeah, and I think just to enjoin to your point, like, because again, there really isn't a debate here because I don't have any like big contentions against anything you're saying. There might be minor quibbles and disagreements, but nothing worth really just doing a whole thing about.
Yeah.
My thing too is if Democrats do win, and this is another thing I really need people to understand because I'm trying to be more patient with liberals, but at the risk of sounding like a jackass, they don't always make it easy for me. Um, is that you have to wonder too if a liberal administration is even going to undo much that was done in this term. Like, do we
Yeah.
really see any liberal president, especially ones that are realistically the favorite, shrinking ICE at all? Or
Well, no, that's the
we could,
thing. I don't
yeah,
think that ICE would get shrunken by much, if any at all. Although, to be fair, the budget they gave ICE is absolutely ridiculous, and that probably would get decreased. But
yeah,
that doesn't mean though that the employees who they're paying to work for ICE at the time would get let go in the moment. Like, it's not like
yeah, exactly.
shrinking ICE's budget would just immediately be like, okay, well, 70% of the people working for this agency are just gone now. That's not how it works. It would be sort of a slow rollout over time, and they would still kind of have carte blanche to do whatever the fuck they want, like they do now. My big thing though is I do think that whenever the next Democrat is elected president, as long as they have at least some support in Congress, I think there's a really good chance that we are going to get some kind of healthcare reform. Because if we don't, I mean, even now, even just right now, the way that things are going, if Congress doesn't vote to extend the ACA subsidies, we could very, very well just end up getting some serious, not just protests, but full on riots, strikes, etc., before things kind of get changed, because people are not going to accept that shit.
No, I mean we need to understand. We need to reclaim our power as the real agents of history.
Yeah.
History does not happen passively. I do just want to say one more thing that's kind of an aside, but still overall a part of the political discussion. I mean, this is the worst it's been ever. I mean, I know it's been bad for a long time. I don't want to make it seem like I'm in a sleep, but the last real social media I have, because I don't really count YouTube because I just use it, whatever, is Facebook. I have seen just in the course of you talking so many right wing pages and stuff like that. I mean, the algorithm is fucked.
Yeah.
Okay. So I also want to advise people, myself included, be careful about the media you consume. Cause I mean, man, Reels was already bad. Reels was already going really far right, not to mention a shit ton of AI. This is the first time you were talking, dude. And I'm like, Department of Health and Human Services, some guy defending Elon Musk, the Hodge twins, which are conservative kind of creators, Jim Jordan, who's a Republican senator. Like, just all this on my page, but it's like positive. And I'm like,
I
what
will
the
admit
fuck?
I do very occasionally come across some kind of like right wing propaganda on my Facebook, but it is very rare, so I'm gonna chalk this up to the algorithm.
Yeah, it's definitely the algorithm, which, my friends tell me, John, don't block pages because they still count that as engagement. So, really, my advice to you guys, if you're still using social media, just ignore it. Don't comment, don't angry react, don't block it because you think you're cleaning up your feed. That's the mistake I made. Just scroll on by because any engagement, they're going to be like, oh, we'll just give him more of this. And sometimes I still forget and I'll still block stuff just out of habit, but like, don't do it because now I'm dealing with a shit ton of like right wing fucking crap on my fucking feed. And yeah, I mean, dude, that's the thing too. Even beyond the politics, can we just talk about too, like just the cultural issue of just the cultural infrastructure, both in terms of like media, social media, stuff like that. Like so much of it has been co-opted by the right. We need antitrust laws again. We need what was that one law that they repealed that allowed Fox to even happen, like the FCC law, where it's like you got to
Oh,
post honest
oh
information or
God,
whatever.
that was during Reagan, I believe.
Yeah, that he like what he gutted it, and that allowed networks like Fox to get fucking vitality and yeah, like we need an overhaul in my mind of so much because another big problem, even beyond government, is again just the social infrastructure of like social media, digital platforms, stuff like that is so co-opted by the right. It is fucking insane. Like, yeah. But anyway, let's put a pin in this because we could talk politics forever because things are so bad. Oh, one really final thing though is shout out to Gen Z. I'm gonna get ahead of it and say that they are my high spot this week, especially global Gen Z, because now the Bulgarian government is dealing with Gen Z protests because that government is also corrupt. I'm telling you, we're getting more revolutionary people with each
I
successive
saw
generation. Because yeah,
who's the Hungary guy?
Viktor Orban, I think.
Orban. Yeah, I saw they were protesting him too.
Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, autocracies fucking suck. And when people realize that it takes more than electoral politics, I mean, again, we've seen it. God, what was it? Fuck, I'm blanking on the countries. I know India's had problems, with Modi, people against Modi. Obviously,
South Korea.
Javier Milei, Argentina, Bulgaria, which I just mentioned, but the countries before that, there were
South
countries
Korea,
before that.
Nepal.
Nepal, yes, Nepal was the big one that I was trying to think of. Thank you, South Korea. You're right. Not to mention the Jolly Roger flag, the One Piece flag, has been showing up at more protests. I mean, that's exciting to me. That's something that I'm always going to take hope from because I'm like, man, people really starting to do things different. Hey, Wookie. Okay, she doesn't have a mouse in her mouth. I thought she busted in here with an animal in her mouth. But anyway, so yeah, keep protesting, keep fighting. Just never concede to them, never capitulate, and be careful about your media use, both what you talk about and what you consume. That algorithm is an insidious motherfucker. So, on to pop culture. Oh boy, not to bury the lead, let's talk about the coolest thing first in my mind. The Reza arc, the Chainsaw Man movie. We watched that and we watched
We
season
did
one of Chainsaw
rewatch
Man to prepare
season
for it.
one. Yeah, rewatch
Yeah.
season one of Chainsaw Man and then the movie Raise the Ark, and man, it was fun.
Oh my God. Fujimoto, sir, I love you. I love your art. Tatsuki Fujimoto. I recommend, folks, anybody that is a Chainsaw Man fan, because I think I talked about this several weeks ago, but I just want to mention this again. So this isn't like new things that I did. There is a series, Tatsuki Fujimoto 17 to 26. It's an 8 episode thing and each episode is supposed to symbolize a manga either short or maybe even part of a series that he submitted when he was between the ages of 17 and 26. And you get to see a lot of like his early artwork and stuff, and you see a lot of like what would later evolve into Chainsaw Man aesthetically and narratively speaking. I love this man's art. The movie was fucking gorgeous. You guys want a cinematic fucking feast just on visuals alone? Watch this fucking
Hmm.
movie now that it's dropped. Um, Gorgeous. Loved rewatching the season. Denji and Power are an amazing friendship. I've heard people say that it's like two brain cells interacting with each other, and I feel that's accurate. The opening theme is fucking fire. But what about you, man? Because I know you love the movie like I did, but if you want to talk about the season first, that's obviously cool too. What did you really like about revisiting all of it and watching the movie? What stood out to you?
Um, I don't know. Well, I mean, here's my thing. Whenever I watch a new show for the first time, I watch it and I can enjoy it, but I almost never remember it afterwards. I almost always have to rewatch it to really fully